Dude, I
bro.
like if I ever need to get like hyped up, or if I'm ever like, just sitting there and like I'm like, man, I just need my vibes to get turned up. I just go and listen to old like WWE like entrance songs. Like I'll just like be sitting there listening to like the Edge theme song, you know what I'm saying? Understay. Oh, and we are
God,
live. What up
we-
though? Jalen, have you ever done that? You ever just like been in your car and you just put on like the Stone Cold theme or some stuff like that?
Man, Edge's theme song is sad though. Like, what's the a bitter place in a broken dream?
Dude,
Like, oh
it's a
man.
chance to feel alive, okay?
That's right.
One of the best songs ever, man.
Oh, it slaps. Absolutely
Oh man!
slaps.
Oh man! Oh man!
It's like Draymond in training camp, just straight smacks. Anyway, welcome to Woodward Pistons Table Talk. Post lottery, post more like is this a memorial episode? Is this a vibes up episode? What's the temperature right now? Is it lukewarm? Like, is this like an ice cream sandwich that's been sitting out on the counter for a little bit? Where
Bro,
are we
you know
at?
what? They got me bringing out the Cade Crusader tonight, bro. Come on now, man. People, oh, Sean, people are sitting here acting like we don't got Cade, we don't got Jaden, we don't have Jalen. It's disappointing to miss out on Vic. It really is. That should sting. It sucks to be screwed again. Detroit versus everybody in this draft lottery.
So
That should sting. But
let's
Sean, this guy's not falling on the Pistons yet.
yeah, let me let me give some context to why this hurts so bad. Because as you do more research on the lottery, you realize that not only was this the worst draft to fall in perhaps in NBA history because of who was at the top, but it's also the farthest that a team with the worst record in the league has ever fallen in the lottery. No team with the worst record in the league has ever picked below 3. And the Detroit Pistons will be picking 5. Isn't it ironic that a system that was put in place because of the trust the process Sixers is coming to screw over a team that refused to tank throughout the entirety of the 2010s? That's the team that's getting punished. Basketball gods have quite a sense of humor. But anyway, here we are.
And Sean, those are the parts of it that should sting. Those are the parts that should sting. You know, Pistons fall to 5, but what now? What now? What now? It's oh my goodness, man. Is somebody really starting off with this?
Man, it was I just remember being a part of that stream. Like Terry Foster was just
Somebody
like
start off with
he
this?
was just like everyone needs to be mad. And I was like,
I'm like, what do you want me? What do you want me to say? Like, I can get mad, but like professionally mad, I don't know if I could do that.
well, but it's like here's the thing. Like, first of all, I think, and I made a tweet earlier today. And, first of all, where are my manners? We haven't introduced anybody. I'm Sean Murphy alongside my guy, Brandon Dent, aka Kool-Aid.
What's
Brandon,
good?
it's good to see you, my man.
What's good, brother? It's always good to see you, bro. It's always
Mhm.
good to see you, man. Love you, bro.
Always. And then also joining us, he might be the newest member of the crew, but he's always got something to do. It's our man Jalen. That was a terrible rhyme. I know
It worked. It
No,
worked.
don't
though.
give me
Nah.
it worked, but it wasn't good. Don't give me the
No. We give that one to you, man. Hey, on the audit, you pass. You pass.
Yeah, it was a what's going on, y'all? Hashtag pray for me after the week I've had.
I
Man,
feel bad,
the
brother.
week we've all had, dude. Because I mean, and here's the thing. I would say of all the teams in the lottery, and in particular those bottom 3 teams, the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Pistons, if any team was to fall and be prepared to be okay with it, it was Detroit. Because if Charlotte fell out of the top 5, it would have been devastating. If San Antonio got the 6th or 7th pick, they would be singing a completely different tune than they are right now. Now, granted, they got Wemby, so they don't have to be thinking about that. But like the reality of it is, I mean, the Houston Rockets' entire offseason could potentially be derailed because they got the 4th overall pick. Pistons, on the other hand, I still think the expectations are the same for what next season looks like because we have Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. We have really good pieces. We just need to put some solid basketball players, role players, wings, defenders around them to make this team more solid.
Yeah. I mean, that's about it, and that's why the sky is not falling. Before the draft, we were all out here with our vibrato talking about how this was to be something to add to what we already had. We were talking about how Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey were supposed to be future all-star backcourts and all of this. Well, do you still believe that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing so much of the Pistons social media world just in shambles right now because of one lottery pick, man. Lottery pick.
And listen, I get it from the sense that watching your team lose 17 games, and in return, you got the 5th pick, which is the worst case scenario. I get it. That is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But once it clears the esophagus, once you take some time to process and go, okay, where are we actually at? Because if this happened the year, say, we got Cade, like if that was the year we got 5,
Exactly.
What's the direction there? Because you have your rookie that doesn't look great. You have Jeremy Grant maybe, but otherwise, like, you don't really know where it's happening. Jalen, hold on, you got something.
If we did drop that low, we would have got a guy named Josh Giddey. But anyway,
I mean, okay, but realistically, would Josh Giddey have thrived having to be the number 1, number 2 guy right away in Detroit? Whereas in Oklahoma City, he has far less pressure on him. He actually has
he would have been screwed.
He has actually a pretty good supporting cast from day 1 in Oklahoma City. So
we would have been screwed. Man.
Yep. I was talking about that earlier as well. Is that think about this organization right now and what it is. In past times, this number 5 overall pick would be coming into something super, super weak, man. Something without a lot of hope either. Now this number 5 pick is coming into a team that realistically has some of the best young talent across the NBA. They just have to be healthy. They just have to play together. But when they did play, it wasn't like Ivy was just putting up okay stats. They got to a point in time where I was comfortable. Like, I was at the game. Like, oh, he got another 25. Oh, he got 29. Oh, he got 30. Oh, he got 30.
He had it figured out by the end of the season, man.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just like, I really, really, really believe in what these guys can be. And this number 5 pick has a much better situation, like you talked about, Sean, to come into than some of these other draft picks we've had in the past. We talk about Andre Drummond all the time and the type of like development staff, and we rarely talk about the team that he even was drafted to. But think about the team, the development staff. It's gonna sound funny, but bro, this number 5 pick is already gonna get drafted into a better coaching situation than Andre Drummond and some of these past, draft picks we've had. Think about that. We don't know who our coach is, but it's already gonna be a better one. And this is why you really trust in Troy. This is why we've been saying that.
Can you share what I
saw your face? What is about to happen?
Can I tell you the one thing that gave me solace from the lottery? Yeah. is Victor Wembanyama's reaction when the 4th pick of the draft was announced. This is Victor Wembanyama when he learned that the Houston Rockets would be picking 4th.
4th pick in the NBA draft goes to the Houston Rockets.
That is crazy, man.
That is not a man who is devastated.
Bro,
that is a man. Look at that. That is a man who did not want to go to Houston.
Houston. Hey, that deserves a sip out of the Batman mug, bro. I love it, man.
If you want to know anything that made me feel a bit of vindication for what I've been talking about with Houston all year long, it was Wemby with that little fist pump.
Oh, son.
And then we have no idea what he said because he was talking in French. But I assume the French NBA fans at home would tell us he said, didn't want to go to that hellhole. So he
love
did
this
not have his poker face on in that moment. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm so glad you played that, man. I'm so glad you played because I didn't see it from that angle. I've only seen the other one from kind of like the side, but that one has me cracking up because you can see he didn't it like the side one. He's just kind of like, yeah, like
he was.
yeah. That one was just like, yes, it's not Houston. Woo! Like I saw all of that. I think I read all of that into there, man. Frick you.
Yep. And then just to make it that much more fun, just to make it and then just to make it that much more fun, Jabari Smith Jr. saw this.
Let me see what he said.
And he tweeted the notepad emoji. So now we got a little rivalry. Dude,
it's not going to be a good idea.
The Spurs Rockets rivalry is alive and well. But in all seriousness, one other thing, if there's any silver lining, if you're not going to get Victor Wembanyama in the draft lottery, at the very least, don't let him be in your conference, because if he is your pathway to the finals every year, that makes building a team 10 times more difficult. You only have to play him twice a year, and in order to win a championship, you might have to beat him 4 times, but there's not a guarantee they're going to get there every single year.
Can you imagine having to face Vic and Giannis in your own division every year?
Yeah, man. We already have to face Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday. I'd be good without Vic. That's just to name a couple. That's just our division, guys. That's not the rest of the conference. Oh yeah,
Bro,
I didn't even throw
the Central glowed up from kind of like out of nowhere. It's like a lot of the different teams, they drafted right and they augmented right. Some of them didn't happen overnight.
And then there was the Bulls.
There's
drafting right, and then there's the Bulls.
a lot of them didn't happen overnight either. You know, look at that Cleveland Cavaliers rebuild. The Pistons rebuild is going eerily similar. Now they're going to have to rely, I'm going to continue to say this, on health. But they're in a really, 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 really good position. One of the questions I wanted to be able to ask you all is this. And, Jeff asked me this. I'm sure you guys probably talked about it as well. With this number 5 pick, what do you think is best to do? You know, there's rumors of some people trying to trade down, possibly present an opportunity for the Pistons to trade up, or the Pistons could trade back and get multiple attempts in this draft, or stay at 5 if you think that there's somebody there who you believe can really, really pay dividends for this team. Like, what do you guys want to do with this number 5 pick? Jalen looks like he's like ready to go.
Boy, oh boy.
It's always funny because he has emotions like he's ready to go, and then it's always like a all right, here we go. You're
because
you're gonna say it.
You got
let me think about it. All right, here we go. No, I'm just giving you crap, Jalen.
I think I think we should trade it. I know I was big on Jarris Walker and Thompson twins. Truth be told, I think Cam Whitmore is going at number 4. Maybe. I think he's much better than we think he is. But if he's there at 5, take him. But perfect comment. Like, I'm still a little upset about what happened. But if we trade the pick, though, we can try to trade up. I think Portland may be the only team that would probably, do a trade with us, maybe.
I think that, however, they're going to try to get someone a little bit. I think they're going to try to get an all-star with that pick if they can. I don't know how feasible it is, but I think they're going to try to. I think they're going to try to get the best value they can because who's in that top 3.
Yeah, I hope they could, though. It'd be great to see. But the question is, though, who do you attach to that pick?
Right. Well, and here's the other question too. Like, if Scoot Henderson is at that pick, do you trade up? Or do you do you trade up depending on like the prospect, right? Like like what happens on like depending on who's available there. But also, James Edwards III did actually put out like a really good article today, kind of like highlighting like potential trade packages and options that the Pistons, could look at. So like wanted to shout out that. I don't want to give away all of them because that would be kind of like giving away the entire article. However, just to name a couple people that he named, I thought these were really interesting. So potentially trading for RJ Barrett and getting a 2024 first round pick and bringing back Evan Fournier as well. That'd be pretty intriguing. He even put together a trade package with us potentially going for Pascal Siakam, which I thought that was pretty intriguing too. I think, like ultimately if the Pistons are to make a trade, I don't know, like you would more than likely have to go get a proven NBA player, and it's like
100%.
and you would have to make sure it's equivalent to a top 5 pick, because you have to make the bet that whoever you're getting there is going to be more valuable in the long run than guys like Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker, who, depending on how you feel about those guys, seems like they're going to be some pretty damn good NBA players.
Yeah.
It's not a knock to them. I'm about Kool-Aid.
No, you go, brother.
Yeah, I want it to be known, like, it's not a knock to them, like, as fans, like, we're a little upset we didn't get it. Like, we know how good Jarris Walker is. You know how good Thompson twins could possibly be. We know how great Cam Whitmore is and everything. But it's just like we don't mind having them. But if you can get somebody that's already established, like Sean said, and, get some help quick,
it's a business.
That's not too old either. They're still, like, young enough to rock with us. Then I'm all for the trade. I think we can get somebody too that that can help us if we do trade the pick.
I know it feels a little awkward because we are talking about college kids that are coming into the league, but I mean it's a business now. Like this isn't college anymore. This isn't like this isn't like like friendly like Hungry Howie's autograph sessions. Like this is the big leagues now. Like this is a business. Like you're going to be talked about potentially being traded before you even get drafted. Like that's the reality of it. So, Barrett and the protected pick we owe them for Bojan and 5 seems solid. I think so too. I think that would be intriguing. I mean, in particular, I'd be intrigued to see what type of spacing would open up for Barrett being alongside Cade and Ivy. Because in particular, I think it's a really awkward fit sometimes alongside Julius Randle.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's an awkward fit, not just from a basketball standpoint, but also just their personalities as well.
They do not mix it all.
Yeah,
I think RJ might just need a fresh start too. Like it's been a real up and down run in New York. Like they've had like a couple playoff runs, but like they've ended really disappointingly. And like for him, like even though he might love playing in the Mecca, at the same time, playing for Knicks fans, like we talk about Pistons fans being tough, Knicks fans are freaking ridiculous. So like, I think it might be good for him to be in a smaller market.
Sean, you trying to have Knicks tape all over you, bro.
I mean, no, man. I want to be able to like, stay alive. So Knicks fans, forgive me. Listen, I've talked way too kindly about Jalen Brunson all year long for one comment.
You are the one, bro. You are the one. I questioned it.
I'm the Brunson disciple.
I remember that. Look, Jalen, side note, man, before we get to Mr. Jones here. You look, last year, Sean was convinced that Jalen Brunson was not just a good player. We all thought good player. He said, no, he's a difference maker. He's worth being like this top free agent. And look what he's doing now. Or look what he was contributing. Like,
let's be honest, it's his team over there.
Yeah, he's taken over. He's taken over.
His team.
I be trying to be diplomatic. Jalen is like the less diplomatic me. Sean is the less like unfiltered me.
It's his team.
Or the less filtered.
Yeah, Kool-Aid will be like, yeah, like sometimes, like, like he could be like lacking from time to time, and I'll just be like, he's a dumbass. Oh my gosh. I think in all seriousness though, like I think the fact that they're at 5, it does open up a lot more doors. I think at the same time though, like if Detroit is to make a trade, are you looking to do Like, because like for all intents and purposes, if you are doing that Knicks deal, yes, you are getting a guy in RJ Barrett who could potentially help you long term, but it is a salary dump for all intents and purposes too. You're taking on his contract, but you're also taking on Evan Fournier in that proposed deal as well. And Evan Fournier is not the Evan Fournier of
Not the
old.
one we remember.
By the way, save your eyes. Don't Google Fournier. Just don't Google that word, please. Brandon, have you ever done it? Have you ever Googled Fournier?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
never Google it. I'll never Google it, Tom.
But have you?
I'll never Google it. Thank you for
I
the word.
did.
Okay. All right. I'll take that as a no. But man, I tell you what, it is surprising. It is not what you expect it to be. That's all I'm gonna. Yeah, that's a crusade we do not need to head down. You know what I'm saying?
Son, bro, your mind is so quick, bro. It's so quick.
But dude, that's the only thing I think of with Evan Fournier. Freaking Rachel Nichols told people not to Google it on national TV, which of course made it trending on Google. I mean, on Twitter, like, of course.
Bro, I want a shirt. I want
No.
different shirts. No. Listen. With David's facial expressions. That was 48.
Ooh. Ooh, boy.
Y'all are killing me. Shout out Mr. Jones.
Charles,
man.
don't! Charles, no!
What
No!
happened?
No! No!
Wait, where is it at? What
Like
is
his
Charles
comment,
doing in the comment?
He said, I'm curious to Google it, but I have kids here. No! 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 Oh my gosh. That show got to this is what happens when your team gets fifth in the biggest lottery in NBA history. This is what happens. I'm just letting you know.
Oh man, bro, we thought we were over it. We thought we were handling it well, right?
No. Dude. Okay. Can we just talk about can we just acknowledge one other aspect of it?
What's good,
It
brother?
just had to be the Spurs. It just had to be the Spurs. I know the script writers sometimes, like they come up with these stories years in advance and they try to be cute about it, but it's like it doesn't seem so subtle this time. I know everyone's like the league is rigged and they showed the video to be like, actually it's not rigged, but like how does it not feel rigged when they get another generational talent?
Goodness
It
gracious.
just makes sense. It makes sense.
I don't know what to make of it, man. We've been down this road so much as Detroit Pistons fans that it just is something that you just you're numb to almost. It's just like Jalen saying, well, that's it. It makes sense. I remember doing the draft lottery. His face was just like the whole time. Like, he was a quarter pick. He was like, this is what it is.
It makes sense because it's San Antonio. They've developed a lot of, international players over the last 20 years or so, 25 years. They've had two great Hall of Fame big men. And now Pop was probably on the way out, I believe, within due time.
Hey, Jalen, can I ask you a quick side note real quick?
What's up?
If the Pistons were to hire Doc Rivers.
Okay.
If you ever want to know Jalen's trigger word, it's Doc Rivers. Anyway.
Look, y'all gotta watch. What was that? Was that the last show? Was that the last table talk? Where we realized his extreme dislike for Doc Rivers?
Oh yeah.
Yo,
we got the fifth
go
pick.
back and watch the last one if you didn't see it. Oh my gosh. That was so mean, John.
We got the fifth pick, and he literally ruined Philadelphia, like I said, in the same week.
Do you know who I looked at, by the way, once we got the fifth pick? Who is the guy on Table Talk each and every week who said, we're going to get Wemby. we're gonna be
Carl.
perfectly fine. And I kept saying,
Devastated, man.
guys, don't tempt the basketball gods. And we're like, oh, we're getting wimpy. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be good. We got wimpy. Not just Carl. Kool-Aid, you did it too. You're all guilty. All of you.
Me?
This is what you do when you're
I
angry. You point fingers. It causes division.
we
This
gotta
is what we
blame
do
Kool-Aid
in our
and Carl.
bottom. This is what we do in our lows. But can I remind people of something?
Oh, man.
The last time we had this type of polarizing generational prospect was LeBron James. Who went 5th in that draft?
Dwayne Wade,
That top 5 outside of Darko? How many Hall of Famers is in that?
all 4 of them. Bosch, Melo.
Mm-hmm. We don't have to talk about who picked second. We don't have to talk about that. But the sentiment being, just because there's one generational talent, one known future all-star in this class, it doesn't mean Detroit doesn't have a chance to go get another one. And and the other thing as well, like real quick, of the final 4 teams that are currently playing, I would say Boston was the only one that was built on lottery talent. The Denver Nuggets, I mean, I tweeted the picture earlier today of Nikola Jokic being drafted during a Quesarito commercial. Like Michael Porter Jr. was drafted 15th. Jamal Murray was drafted in like the middle of the first round.
We got to give him the whole.
Devin Booker was drafted 15th. Like, the only guys that are first overall picks that are currently playing are on the Lakers, and they were not drafted by the Lakers. These teams went and made their own luck, and that's what Troy Weaver's going to have to do. And that's what he was going to have to do no matter what the lottery dictated, because it doesn't dictate your team's fate. It only dictates where you're picking.
Sean, did you show them the picture, y'all? The Quesarito picture?
Oh yeah, I could pull it up. I tweeted it out today.
Magic, bro.
Dude, it is so, which by the way, rip the Quesarito, those bastards at Taco Bell. But anyway.
Oh, we are letting loose today.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of people are upset and like devastated, and like, I know we think in this league, in order to win, you have to have the number 1 pick, or you have to get these guys. But like, the simple truth of the fact, like, did we forget Kawhi was drafted 15th? Giannis was drafted 15th. Like the reality of it, the reality of it is, like, so many superstars fell out of the top 10 or even out of the top 5. The reality of it is, like pre-draft rankings and mock drafts are merely guesses of these guys' potential. We'll know what these guys really are 5 years from now. What we do know is Jarris Walker and Cam Whitmore both have pretty high ceilings, and both have attributes that could make them future all-stars. Now, I think Walker's more of like a higher floor, lower ceiling guy with like really good defensive attributes, and a guy who doesn't need the basketball in his hands. But at the same time, we can get a guy who can help us right away, whether it's through trade or whether it's at that pick.
Yeah.
For what? Yeah, I said Doc Rivers. You said for what?
But yeah, what I
Oh,
want
that
to
was
bring up
so
is like,
good.
whenever we criticize Detroit's draft history, it's always because of the players that we allowed to drop below us. And that's generally at what picks, like 8, 9, 10, 11 every single year. So it's like there are going to be players available there. This is when you need to have a support staff and a front office like the Detroit Pistons have right now. Coaches who've been in the NBA, scouts who've been in the NBA, player development coaches who understand how to see where players can even trajectorize to, and Troy Weaver, who's been on the scene for a very, very, very long time. Not that he's going to be perfect, but that he's going to be somebody who's going to get it right more times than not.
Which people are dunking on him for bringing in all these centers and for getting the Killian pick wrong when they're not bringing up the other 2 picks that were in the first round that year. And then how some of those centers, like, Jalen Duren looks like he could potentially be an all-star one day as well, who Paul George called a baby Dwight Howard. I think with the way that, like, the way the conversation has gone with Troy Weaver, we're acting like he's batted under 500 in the draft. And reality of it is, he's batting like he's batting almost 900 right now. If you actually look at the picks and how they're doing overall.
Yeah, and that's honestly, let's go to that topic right now. That's why I have Cade, Jaden, and Jalen ceiling as a question here, because I feel like this draft has allowed people, and obviously Cade Cunningham getting injured is also going to contribute to that. Not seeing them on the court, Cade and Ivy on the court together, those things are going to contribute to people, I believe, forgetting or really underestimating the impact that these three rookies are supposed to, or these three young players are supposed to have on the court. And did you guys see the Cade boxing today?
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
looking strong, man. He's looking strong. Obviously, it's not basketball, but in the interview that we got to do
He's
with
bulked up.
Ashton and Cannon, Ashton was like 6 seed. I was like, why 6 seed? He was like, man, I just saw Kay working out yesterday. 6 seed. So I don't know what's going on in the
Well,
workout.
and listen, now Cannon was a little more cool. He said 10 seed, but here's what we do know from talking to those guys. For one, like James Edwards did an article about this. We already knew about it, but Cade being out for the season was not Cade being sidelined for the season. Like, this was not a wasted season as far as his, development, his preparation, the things he's been able to work on. And from what we're hearing, all I keep hearing about Cade this offseason, whenever I talk to Ashton, or whenever I just hear about how he's doing, all I hear is the jump shot is looking incredible. And so if that translates to the season, I think we're going to see Cade have a very similar breakout performance to what Tyrese Halliburton did this last year. So I think he can have a similar type of campaign.
I
And
feel like Cade is already.
but
is
I also
already
think he can
that.
be better.
Yeah, I think he's already that guy, or if not better. I think what he's put on paper, or at least on stat wise, at his peak. And obviously, people want to see wins and things of that nature. He hasn't been in the situations that Tyrese Halliburton has been in. I'm taking Cade every day over the week right now, over even the things that Tyrese Halliburton has put on paper.
Facts.
And it's not a diss on Tyrese, not at all, not at all. But in that conversation, it was dope. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely go back and check it out. It's on the channel. Got an opportunity to sit down with Ashton and Cannon, Cade's brother, Cade's trainer, and try and get some insight into what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and what they're seeing as relates to the Detroit Pistons and Cade. And it was just awesome to be able to get that type of insight and to be able
Cade
to
and
hear that
Cannon are so similar, dude. Like listening to Cannon talk, it's like, you get like, yeah, you get where Cade got his foundation from. You know what I mean? Like you can
Yep.
hear the role model that he was whenever you hear Cannon talk. It's like, man, those guys are just level-headed and they know their stuff.
Yep. It was cool to just hear these guys talk about Cade Cunningham and his development, Cade Cunningham and his rehab and his recovery, Cade Cunningham and how excited they are for his season ahead. And I think the most exciting thing about what they said about the Pistons in particular was the connection between Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Cannon was talking about how he didn't really want the Pistons to go after another ball handler. But when Ivy got here and he saw how much these guys loved each other, these guys wanted to work, it just kind of made him excited. Obviously, Cannon believes that the Pistons are going to finish like 10th next year if they don't do something drastic. But he does believe that the foundation, these young players, are the ones to believe in. He believes next year's the last year where they're kind of and after that, he thinks playing. Ashton just believes that that's going to come a little bit sooner. So both of these guys, based on what they know, based on what they feel, and based on what they're seeing from these young guys, and they talked about Durden a little bit too, they're excited. I'm excited too. Like before we got to this draft pick, we were just talking about how excited we were about this young nucleus. That's all that we were talking about all season. We were talking about Durden. We were talking about get them more playing time, yeah. And I'm hoping that fans, people, I'm hoping that the players and the organization, everybody still, I know they do, has this as a priority and has this as this is what matters. This is what we must augment and build around. And Sean, you said it right. Jalen, you guys said it right. They have to get the right veteran pieces, the right basketball pieces to just put around them. The number one tools, 3 and D player. And I know Troy said he wants more creatives out there on the court. So It's gonna be an interesting ride.
Yeah, for sure. And like with Jaden Ivey, like with Cade, you could just tell like right away, like within, like that he's just that dude. Like especially like I could tell in summer league. You know what I mean? Just the way that he conducted himself, like everything about him's like, yeah, this guy's gonna be great. With Jaden Ivey, I was pretty confident going into his rookie campaign, but the one question I kind of subconsciously had was how is his focus going to be throughout the season? How is he going to evolve like throughout his rookie year? Because we knew from everything that we heard that he wanted to come in and do big things. He had goals. He had a list of his goals for his career. We knew that he was hungry, but we've seen guys, we've seen so many guys say that. And then once they get the bag, once they come into the league, different things take their attention. Even top guys, I'll just say it, his role model, John Morant, but you know, everything that we saw this year with Jaden Ivey is that he is focused on basketball. He was hell bent on getting better. The fact that, he was going to, guys like John Beeline and saying the exact things that we were all pointing out and saying, how can I get better on the defensive end? I just think about the fact that, I can only imagine how pissed off Jaden Ivey is with how the season went, despite how well he played, and also with the potential that they have. So like, I'm just excited to see what a summer in the lab is going to do for him, because I really think the sophomore leap for Jaden Ivey, I think he's going to be stellar. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was left off first team too. That may not be a big deal to
Exactly, man.
fans, but like that's gonna fuel him a little bit more because no bias. I think he should have made first team, but the way the league is, it's a little different now how they conduct these awards and everything. But I think it's a chip on his shoulder. I feel like when him and Cade get back together, it's gonna be special. We got Dorn and everything, and then whatever else happens, like I think he's untouchable. I have him, Cade, and Dorn, untouchable, as assets and whatnot. But yeah, Jaden's gonna be like you say, he's gonna be pissed off. He may
Yep.
not show that, but it'll show when the season starts. It'll be
Yep.
there, 100%.
Yep. And if you need to be reminded, by the way, just how good Cade Cunningham, not like this isn't like far off. This was October and November of this past year. If you need to be reminded of how good Cade is, like go back and I would recommend watching October 28th and October 30th. The two games where he played against Atlanta and Golden State, when he put up 35 against the Hawks and then 23 at home against Golden State. He was lights out. The best player on the court both nights, and Steph Curry was one of those players.
I don't think people understand how much the Detroit Pistons miss Cade Cunningham's defense. I was looking at clips last year, clips from some of his games last year and clips from his games as he got comfortable this year. And his defense makes a difference. You got a guy who's 6'6", 6'7", sitting at with a pretty decent wingspan, sitting at the top of the key or mid-range. With good reflexes. And he last year was seeing guarding sometimes even the 4 and the 5. He was matched up. I saw a couple times with like Evan Mobley. I forget the power forward's name out in Phoenix that he was matched up with a little bit in some games last year when I went back to just look at tape, and he was holding his own. These things matter when you're talking about switching. Isaiah Stewart's value is because of how well he can switch, defensively from the 1 through 5. When you have someone like him and Cade Cunningham switching on pick and rolls, that's a lot different than if it's, say, Isaiah Stewart and Kojo.
And Isaiah Stewart, by the way, there were stretches where he was so good this season too, man. And it's just like I just don't see how there's like I just think there's a lot of potential there that people don't see.
Yeah. I feel like, with where things are going with Cade, with Ivy, with Duran, the comments are saying it, and there's already a lot of people who are saying that, we got faith in what they're going to be. Chuck Brewer, I expect huge gains from Cade, Ivy, and Duran this year. I do too. And I believe that Duran is the one that we're going to see the biggest gains from. I feel like Cade and Ivy, they showed like 30 points. Ivy would put up long stretches, man, during the season. 10-game stretches where he's putting up 27 and like 8 assists per game, 5 rebounds. Cade put up stupid numbers that
I'm
only like
excited to
Michael
see how
Jordan
they
was
use
putting
him in the
up.
offensive game more, because it feels like this is the year where they can start to really begin to unravel and like kind of begin to unlock a little bit more of his offensive game. Because when it really started, like at the beginning of last year, they were doing virtually nothing with Duran on the on the offensive end. They were worried about his rebounding and his defense. That was pretty much like the main things. But like as the season went on and as they started to run more actions with him in the pick and roll, it just felt the more comfortable he got. I'm just excited to see what he can do with more actions and more plays run for him this next year.
And that's why I think he's going to take the biggest leap forward.
Yeah.
Troy Weaver and Coach Casey both said that his ceiling is high, and they're not even going to put one on him. The night that they drafted him, they were talking about comps to Sean Kemp. That, to me, talks about versatile offensive player with extreme athleticism. That is exactly what KDA is saying. I was about to say it too. The sky is absolutely the limit. And when you see some of his offensive moves, his shooting stroke and everything, he has the chops to get this thing right. There were basically people stating that he had a certain skill set, a lot more skills in his bag than he was able to show at Memphis because they kind of just put him in a role and told him to play that role. When he got to the Pistons is when, obviously Troy Weaver, who's kind of out there on the scene, knew he has a little bit more to his bag. So the reason why he did kind of drop to 13 is because they had questions on how developed he would be, how quickly he would be able to adapt to or learn NBA offense and defense and things of that nature, because we did have a guy like Andre Drummond come into this league, and it's a scary thing when you're talking about taking a player in the lottery, man. I didn't think Durham was going to drop to 13. That was wild.
Heck no, man.
We were talking about taking him if he could get back into the top 10 to get Durham.
I think it was disrespectfful a little bit.
I was kind of half expecting, like when the trade was going through, I was waiting for the domino to fall that we somehow put somehow we put Ivy in that deal. And I was like, oh God, here we go. But it was like, wait, we just get to keep Jalen Duren.
We just get to walk away with this. Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? And it's like as good as Mark Williams looked at points for the Hornets, like especially down the stretch, Mark Williams, like I know I gave him crap at the beginning of the year because he wasn't playing, but when he actually played, he did look really good. He ain't no Jalen Duren when it comes to the athletic side of things.
And no. they didn't look at him like you can look at my tweets like I'm like, yo, this dude's crazy. Like if you watch him at Memphis, I think it was the Gonzaga game. He was putting Chet Holmgren inside the rim, like at will. Like obviously Chet's, small, but Doran was just
the best toothpick in the league, though.
Doran was going at him, no remorse. And then you got Doran getting 10 boards off the bench in like 5 minutes or 6 minutes. If he starts next year, that's going to go to 12, 14. And then if he starts to score, it's going to be 12 and 15, 16 and 15, things like that. And you add, if Wiseman is around, hopefully, you can't stop that.
I'll say it right now. Jalen Duren starting opening night.
Yeah, I heard the ifs too. I was just sitting here like, he got it. He's going to be starting.
He needs to, man, because he needs to. I think it's going to help his confidence. I mean, he has a confidence there, but when he gets his offensive game going, he's going to be a problem. And he's not even 20 yet. So, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think as we saw more of Wiseman's game, he just isn't ready for that. Not when you're trying to win, in my opinion.
A KDA with the 3 ball?
No, I just meant like as far as like Wiseman being ready to start. My bad.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one as well. I think that in terms of the bigs that pass the big man triage and can stay out the way the most or the best is Duren. Bagley and some of the other bigs, they have to have their touches. They have to do certain things. When we're talking about how many touches do we have if we brought in a guy like Scoot or like another high volume type scorer, Duren is the type of player when we talk about restoration, who's like a Bill Laimbeer, he's like a Dennis Rodman. He's going to make a big impact, but he's not necessarily clamoring for the ball. But when the ball's in his hands, he's going to make the right decision. That means that you can go out there and add other people to your roster on the offensive side of the ball that need the ball in their hands and let it work. Why?
Because Wiseman would be calling on the ball. Wiseman would be calling for the ball, and he's on the end of the bench drinking Gatorade. He's like, I'm wide open. I can get into the post. I can bang.
Doran's patient. He's patient.
Yep.
Dorn is very disciplined for his age when it comes to playing his role, pick and roll, backdoor oop, whatever the case is. He does not need the ball to show what he is. Like Sean said, Wiseman, he kind of needs the ball to work. He likes to ISO a lot on the elbow and stuff, which is fine. But you have to be comfortable and be consistent with that. And I don't think he's ready for that yet. But yeah, Dorn, he's real disciplined and patient and mature for his age, I think.
Yep. Yep.
I also
it's astute.
Yeah, I also think it depends as well. Like with Stu, like you said, I think obviously with him, he'll like if he's on the court, you can definitely do those two big lineups and experiment with that more with his ability to stretch the floor. But also like if they potentially get Jarris Walker as well, I know he's kind of like a four as well. It just I think it's not as much of a two big lineup as much as it's hitting size and physicality that can also stretch the floor. You know what I mean?
Yep. And Troy talked about the fact that. And I actually got to ask this question in the exit interviews to Marvin Bagley. Towards the end of the season, you'll see that some of their bigs were doing things like pump faking and driving from the perimeter, or pump faking, taking one dribble, step in, and passing from the perimeter, rather than being a three-point shooter. And realistically, if you're getting scores out of that and you have the defense stretched out, that's still stretching the floor, even if you're not getting a three-pointer out of that. And so you want your bigs to be able to play like that, but ultimately, this is going to be on Troy Weaver to go out there and look for those pieces that can effectively fit the scheme that he's saying he wants to play. And that's something that he tipped his hand to. I'm going to find the quote. I know I have the article up on Hoover Sports, but he did talk about the fact that when they acquired Wiseman, it was for the benefit need of wanting to or having to get bigger, having to play and find a way to get these versatile bigs. And he specifically named certain teams that do it well. And when you look, it's bigs that can play really, really well, versatile, defensively, offensively, and they're making an impact where it's not really taken away from the team if they're not necessarily three-point shooters. So as currently constructed, it gets very difficult, like Sean pointed out, to play the two-man lineup, the two-big lineup. But I don't believe that they're going to just kind of sit pat. I think they're going to go out there and realize if they don't do something to match some of these teams in the Central, then they're just going to keep getting beat up. Sean, bro, how many nights, bro, will we talk about what the rebounding numbers were looking like between the Pistons and the other squad? Like it was atrocious, man. So.
Yeah. And, I think in particular, like you talk about that versatility and ability to defend. Like, I think, I'm interested to see what happens with Wiseman and what the plan is with him. Like, if he is going to be our backup big this year and ultimately what they decide to do there, because I think it's going to come down to how he grows in the defensive end, because I think you saw the flashes, when he's around the rim and he's causing and he's contesting shots at the rim and not drawing contact. Obviously, he has the size to really make things difficult for people at the rim. But at the same time, he's just so inexperienced and missed so much key basketball that there's just a lot of things instinctively that he doesn't know. And a lot of the things that you learn you learn on the defensive end just comes with game experience and time, and the thing is do the Pistons have the time? And kind of the answer right now is not really.
Not really.
Not even close.
That was one of the things that Cannon and Ashton both stated in that interview is they're ready to win. They're not looking to, necessarily do the wrong thing to kind of speed the rebuild up, but they're also not looking to kind of be a team that's just winning 16, 17, 20 games a year. They're looking to compete. They're ready to go out there and play. And right now, they are stating that, hey, we have to get healthy. I believe that Cade Cunningham, we're going to continue to state it. Cade Cunningham, Cade Crusader got the shirt tonight, man. I'm going to continue to say it. That guy's a star. All right. When he started to get rolling this season, nobody was able to stop him, man. It was just an injury that was able to do it. When he comes back and you talking about Ivy, who a lot of people were like, how are they going to work? How are they going to work? How are they going to work? Well, he led all rookies in assists per game and total assists, and he didn't play the most games. So just think about it. And he led total assists by a comfortable margin. He was playmaking at a really, really good clip here. I want to see him get those turnovers under control. But as it relates to these high IQ basketball players, these playmakers who want to see each other succeed, man, it's sweet. That's what made the Heatles work. And I'm not saying that these guys are on their level. We're just talking about how teams work, and you could tell that they were friends. You could tell that they cared for each other. You could tell just by the way that they went about their business. And when you hear Cade and when you hear Ivy and even when you hear Duran talk, you hear maturity out of all of those guys, but you hear that they want to win for each other. They want to play for each other. Like I don't take it lightly. I wish the wins were there to kind of back it up, like how we saw with Cade's first year when he started going ham. The wins started coming in as well. Their winning percentage went up. This year, Ivy didn't have as much support around him as even Cade did, and Cade didn't that rookie year. But he was going out there and balling, man. He was going out there and balling. He was going out there and answering questions. That three-point shot got up to like 36, 37, 38%. Sean, you know, I was covering this all year, that whole Jaden Ivey versus Benedict Mathurin. He was ahead of him except for like that first 10 games. After that first 10 games, it was Ivy by
Night and
far.
day.
By far, though. It wasn't even close. I'm talking about you look at the shooting
night and
percentage,
day.
you look at the defense, you look at the assist rate, you look at the points responsible for. I'm excited for these guys. Like, that's what we said. Everyone kept talking about, are we making excuses for them? No, this offseason is pivotal. These players have to take a step forward. That's what this draft is telling us. Step up. That's what it's telling us. Internal growth is what they've continued to tell us. And if we don't get it from there, then why are we drafting them first and fifth and 13th? And why are they being called the next this and the next that?
And what we're saying is we've seen a lot from these last couple of seasons to say that they're ready to begin to take a next step. It's just ultimately going to come down to whether they do or not. And I think a big aspect of that is going to be another thing that's happening in this off season, something that I thought we were going to have an answer to table talks ago for, but guys, there's continual developments with the head coaching search. I mean, not one, not two, but three of the top coaches in the NBA, have all
Only
lost
two.
their jobs.
Only
I'm
two.
not. Yeah, I know too. But like people would say three, despite what Jalen wants to say. Now like guys like Mike Budenholzer, guys like like Monty Williams, but even looking further and looking at guys like maybe even Frank Vogel and other experienced coaches that are out there, it sounds like I think a lot of people were reading way too much into one sentence from a Yahoo Sports article and saying that and people were like, oh well, Tom Gores hates these candidates. I think what's happening is Detroit made it clear that they were going to wait throughout the playoffs to see what developments would happen, and the developments that have happened have been crazy. And if they were to not stop and to reevaluate with guys like Monty Williams and Mike Budenholzer available on the market, if they're about to hire a first-time coach, they would be stupid not to. That is my takeaway. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are, but that's my take.
Back to what Kool-Aid said about the young guys before I get to the coaching thing, Sean. Like,
yeah,
a lot of those dudes, like you said, I think a few months ago, or like a couple months ago, they're not used to losing. Like,
yeah,
right.
They went to great schools, they went to great high schools, or whatever you want to call it, and they won. So, they come in here and lose a couple years in a row. It's like, all right, like let's take a step forward, and then not getting that first pick or top 3 pick. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe that's going to make them want to work harder to win, regardless of who we get. And as far as like coaching, I'll say it. Yeah, Monty, Mike, Doc. You got those people. You got those people out there, and it's like you had your 3 coaches, but like Sean said, it would be a crime not to even look their way. I know Monty may have said he would take like a year or some time off or whatever the case may be. I hope Sean doesn't want Doc.
No, I don't want Doc. No,
Sean wants me to be sad.
Monty ain't taking no time off. He's going right back into it. I call Cap. I do think Detroit, even though because I know the reports suggest that they were going to make a push for Monty if they got Vic. I still think, because even though he could potentially go to Milwaukee or Philly, I think the one thing Detroit can sell is longevity, because the teams with the best record over the last 6 years, all of those coaches are no longer with their team. And if you bring in a guy like Monty Williams to Detroit with his resume, his his basketball acumen, you can say you have time here to help these guys get to that point. You
Mm-hmm.
helped Phoenix get over the hump after they had those brutal years. Help us get over the hump. And, whereas in Milwaukee, there's a realistic chance that Giannis could be gone within the next 2 years, and so could he. They're getting a new owner. A lot of things are changing in Milwaukee. Philly, Joel Embiid could be gone within a year. Detroit, Monty could be there for 4. Monty would probably be safe for at least 2 seasons. I would honestly say 3.
I think he has the best chance. I think his best chance will be here too. Like you said, Harden's leaving too. I assume Harden may leave Philly too. So you go over there, you lose and beating Harden, you don't have anything. Giannis is
You have
what's the word?
Giannis, but like the surrounding pieces are old. A lot of them
Hmm.
are free agents, and it's getting expensive quickly. Their owner sold for a reason. That's all I'm saying. They
And
sold in the
then
midst of their best point in franchise history, having Giannis. They're not doing it for no reason.
and if they don't win, like he may not want to say it, but Giannis is not going to stick around if he just keep losing. He's not going to stick around. And if he comes here, like Sean said, we have the young team, just like Phoenix. They had Devin Booker. They didn't have Chris Paul. They had Dario Saric and people. What's the guy? Dragon Bender. I think that was his name. He was over there in like the top lottery pick. They didn't have the best team. I think our team was much better than that outside of D Book. He comes here, with Cade, Ivy, Dorn, some extra pieces. It's more stable than the other franchises. Established, no, because they won. But stability for the long term, I think we have that over those two teams, 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
And listen, I mean, like all of these, like all of these like top coaches, have experience of working with, young stars and helping them get to that next step. So, even though we all like the young coaching prospects that are available, I do think with Detroit landing at 5, I understand the positioning of the franchise of rethinking of going with a young coach and considering of going something with a little more proven track record. I don't think that's a crazy thought to have. And as much as people are making a big deal about it, we don't have to know our coach by Memorial Day. As much as people want to, we don't have to.
Yeah. And they've been saying for a while. Rod Beard reported, Mike Curtis reported, I even reported that these were like the first round of finalists, not the final finalists. That they had kind of a caveat of coaches that they knew they could actually interview at that current time. And that there were other ones. Troy even said at the exit interviews, yeah, there may be coaches who come available during the playoffs that we want to take a look, or after the playoffs that we might want to take a look at too. So this thing was never set in stone, but
Right.
stories have to be kind of created. Social media has a way of just kind of taking things and turning it, and then without us even knowing it, we're believing it because we're trying to trust whatever reports that we see coming through. But in reality, this was always going to be layered interviews. They were always going to come in with kind of, all right, these are kind of the top assistants, these are kind of your top coaches with NBA experience.
Top
These
coaching
are the
prospects for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, across the different plethoras. So, that's what they're doing. They're going to turn over every stone. They're not going to just kind of just kick a rock and just keep going. They're going to turn over every stone. And I honestly respect the approach that they're taking with this thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's them going with a proven NBA coach or whether they believe that they found the next Eric Spoelstra, who didn't have a head coaching experience prior either. I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna trust what Troy Weaver is doing. But I'm seeing it in the comments as well. Yeah, you want a guy who's gonna come in and want and desires and kind of knows what to do with this young core. I think I forgot who said it, but somebody said that they want to see a coach come in here and really be able to play to the strengths of Cade, Jaden, and Jalen and have them play a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think, again, whether it is one of those like one of those first 3 finalists, or whether it is, a Mike Budenholzer, a Monty Williams. I don't know if, I'm not personally sold on a Frank Vogel, although, to his credit, he did do very well in that 2020 bubble run, and he did lead that Lakers roster well. And he did make some noise with that Paul George Pacers team. It's just personally, I think if you're going to get a proven name, go. If you're going shark hunting, don't bring back a baby shark. Go get, just saying, legitimately, if you're
Hey,
gonna
that's
make the
funny. I
hire
like
for the
that.
future for these guys, and you're gonna go, if you're gonna go, if you're gonna go get the proven, if you're gonna go get the young coaching prospect you like, that's one thing. But if you're gonna go get a proven guy and you want to go shark hunting, go get Jaws. Don't bring back some Finding Dory bull.
Ooh, I'm so glad you finished that. Oh, I'm like, you got to finish that one. He was cooking. I'm like, you got to finish it. Perfect.
The sizzling boy hibachi, right?
He's cooking right now.
It was. I mean, and you know what? I'm glad that you used the analogy shark, because you could have called him any other fish. Vogel is a good coach, and that's why I was over here deliberating and proliferating, because it's like he has a track record, but he ain't quite it for me. Like either. I'm just like, you know what? I think that there are tiers to this thing, and that's why I said I'm appreciative for the way that Troy is doing this. These are our top assistants. These are our top guys with no NBA experience. These are our top NBA experienced guys that we're going to look at which one fits the bill. Even some reports of people saying, well, Tom Gores wasn't necessarily impressed, and that's why there wasn't a coaching hire. I personally don't know that. I don't know who he might be talking to, but what we were told is that this thing was going to always kind of happen in tiers.
Let me pull up the quote so that we have the exact language.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I mean, all right. So appears none of the three final candidates for the position left Gores with a standout impression. So that could be taken multiple different ways. That could also mean that he really likes all three, and he can't decide of the three which one he likes the most. That also,
yeah,
I feel like the language of these articles can be construed so many different ways. I think this is, I think if you're reading a lot into it, it can be a little bit, much, but also just a reminder that this is from Jake Fisher from Yahoo Sports, who will just report quite literally everything that comes across his what, dude, that guy is just like, oh, what's that? Like this one scout from the Clippers said this thing.
I got a screenshot that. Me
Bro.
and Kool-Aid had the same face at the same time. That is crazy.
As soon as you said the name, it was just like, all right. And you know what? He's using this one thing, because they said that if one of these three finalists, remember when they went to interview, what was the quote? If one of them stand out, like absolutely stand out, then Gores will go on ahead and do it. But they just knock his socks off. That doesn't mean that they didn't impress him. You know what I mean? To kind of put it as if, the search is ongoing because of this. Look, they're doing their due diligence completely.
And even then, the reporting of Kevin Ali being the favorite or Troy Weaver's favorite, that can be multiple different things. That can be a contract is just in the books and we're just waiting for things to be finalized. That could also be Troy Weaver at the water fountain going, man, I just really like Kevin.
Because wasn't Jaren Collins the favorite before that? Wasn't it that Jaren Collins really impressed and
blew them away in the first interviews? Yeah. This is a ever flow. The fact that Monty Williams is now in the conversation tells you how fluid these conversations are and how fluid this can be.
Yeah. And I keep seeing these reports that say things like, oh, the Pistons would have made a full-on run at Monty Williams had they gotten the number one pick. Wait, I don't know what they're actually trying to do, but I do hope that the Pistons are trying to go out there and get the best coaching candidate, period. Just period. If you believe in your guys that you have here, sell this coach on your guys right now. That I don't want to hear this notion, or I don't even really believe the report that Troy Weaver, who says I don't move at anybody else's pace, and who said that the draft is not going to dictate the coaches he looks at, who said I'm waiting around because there might be some coaches who are let go in the playoffs. I don't think that he's just gonna go, oh man, we didn't get the first round pick. Monty would be such a great coach. Let's not do this.
You know, it's one
Take
thing
it
I would.
away. This is Sean Murphy.
You know, it's one thing I would not be opposed of happening.
What's up, brother?
My heart would not be broken if the Denver Nuggets somehow squandered this conference finals series.
Ooh.
And if Mike Malone just so happened to become a guy that became
Look at-
available on the coaching market, I would not mind.
Look at
I'm
this
just saying,
dude.
even though I have a bet for the Nuggets to win the title, and I think they're going to win the title,
tonight, folks.
I would not be complaining if Mike
Oh,
Malone
boy.
joins the chat. That's all I'm saying.
That got
You know
me back
what?
on camera.
You know what? Pistons Mexico, shout out to him because he was the one who started this whole Monty Williams thing. Like, hey, what if something happened to Monty Williams? This and then the news broke, and we were like, whoa, Sean, if this happens, brother, if this happens, we're gonna be on here next week breaking bread with both you and Pistons Mexico. Like, guys, look at all of these NBA head coaches that Troy Weaver can now go and try and lure.
No
That would
BS.
be
30
something.
seconds after Dwayne Casey got fired from the Raptors, I texted my friend and said, Dwayne Casey, your new coach for the Detroit Pistons. So I have a good sense of this stuff. I'm just saying.
Sean, I like that idea. Oh my word. Sean,
I'm
Michael
not saying it's. I'm
Malone.
not saying it's. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I actually think the Nuggets are going to win that series, and I think they're going to win the championship. To this point, it's already probably null and void. However, I mean, we've seen. I mean, we like the stuff like
John,
when
just
like
teasing
when
me,
we
man.
talked about like
Teasing me.
Pistons waiting for the playoffs. Like Monty Williams never entered my mind. Like I thought he was
Ever.
just
Not
like-
even thought.
I didn't think Matt Ishbia would come in and just be like, nah, I want my own coach. I did not think that was even possible. So the fact that not only him, but freaking, like we saw Budenholzer lose his job, even Doc Rivers, who's a guy that Joel Embiid didn't want to get fired, despite what we all think of him. Embiid wanted him there. We know that. So it's wild.
Hey, leave me
man.
alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
I'm just saying, like
No, Kool-Aid's don't. I see you.
listen. We might not love him. He might have the most Game 7 losses ever, but he's in those Game 7s. And also, he's on the list of 15 greatest coaches of all time, voted on by the NBA. Like that's not like that is a thing, whether you want it to be
It
or
is a
not.
thing.
That is a thing.
It is a thing. We try to be fair. Look, we'll joke around a lot. We try to be fair. We try to bring both takes. We try to see everything.
He ain't coming to
sometimes
Detroit.
We'll argue, but yeah, that ain't happening. That's
Yeah,
not
he-
happening. But
Doc's a great coach,
I am
guys.
excited to see Doc on NBA Countdown
Oh.
and First Take in the mornings.
I agree with
I mean-
Charles. These playoffs are the spring cleaning of coaches.
Yep.
I
This is
didn't. I mean,
the
I seen
Game
the
of
Doc
Thrones
one.
of coaching cycles. Like winter's coming for these guys.
I didn't see. I only seen Doc's exit. Not to like funny right now. Like I thought if they didn't win that series because they were up and everything, that he would be out first. But to see what happened to Budenholzer and then Monty Williams, like after they kind of traded the whole team away, it's like I thought that was like the craziest thing. Like Doc.
Especially
Okay,
because
like
Kevin
I get-
Durant loves Monty. Like,
yeah, like they have the history too.
did you guys
you know,
hear? Did you guys hear Isaiah Thomas is a name to not rule out for the next Suns head coach?
I saw that a couple of times on Twitter.
It sounds like at the very least,
Man.
Isaiah Thomas is going to have a very influential voice with the Phoenix Suns moving forward, which that's going to be fascinating.
I wish the Pistons would do more to incorporate their stars into it all, man. Their old
Ben
stars.
Wallace is in the front office.
That's true. That is true. And you know what? They
They're
gave a lot of love
grown.
to Zeke. They did give a lot of love to Zeke. And you know what? Maybe there's just not room for it. Troy Weaver's come in, Stefanski, Arn Tellem, and those guys have come in. And honestly, I don't know how much more official you get than Arn Tellem. Like when you go and you research who he's been and just the pantheon of basketball, the Pistons got heat in the front office right now. They really, really do. I saw somebody else also say, look, they got former NBA head coaches. They got player development coaches in the front office right now. Multiple
Tom
ones.
Gores is not cheaping out on front office personnel, on coaching personnel. Like he is like the amount of resources he's put into the Pistons G League team, their their facilities downtown, the overall development and performance and health and wellness. The Pistons are known to have like the best media spread in the NBA as far as like taking care of like their, taking care of their people. Like, like they take those things seriously, like as far as like having the top standards. Like I know we rag on like Tom Gores a lot, but like Tom Gores takes this super seriously and is not doing any of this halfway.
Not at all. And that's one of the more comforting things to see is that in his ownership, and we've talked about this before, Sean, he's moved from an owner who was kind of in the middle of everything because he said he wanted to win fast. He said, look, I do businesses. That's what I do. I take businesses from one place, get them to another, but basketball was different. And as he found that out, he started handing things over. It was first Ed Stefanski, who I think he handed things over to.
Yep.
And then SVG was here, and then then Arn Tellem, who helped to really, really supercharge things.
Yeah. So
Really
after
supercharge.
SVG was dismissed. They didn't hire any GM right away. They named Ed Stefanski as the senior advisor, which I believe he's still in that role. He's just in far more like he's in far more of an advisory role now. It's not, it's not running the franchise. And that's not even like the people that, they that are outside of the franchise that are like right there to support, like we brought up, like Zeke, but also like, the fact that you have like Niele Ivy that you could just call literally anytime. It's like, oh yeah, that's, like that's our, like one of our
She's
players.
at some of the games, man. Like you see her kind of regularly when she can be there.
She's one of the best
there.
basketball minds in the sport. Like men's, women's, like she's a legit coach.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you called that out too, man, because there's a lot of basketball culture around the Pistons now, and that's what building a program is. You find basketball culture and basketball people around programs, and that's what ultimately helps everything. The reason why you saw Popovich around Team USA and the under 17 Team USAs and all these types of things is because of the types of program he proved he could build in the NBA. And even Coach Casey and his involvement in it was because of those types of programs. These guys built programs to where you could plug and play. You could bring people up from the G leagues or sign people back in the day, like just sign people off the street, and they're coming in and they're fitting in your system. And people would always say, "Oh, well, that's Greg Popovich's system," or "Oh, that's this coach's system," or "That's that coach." Well, you know what? That when you build a program, that's what you get. That's the benefit you get, honestly. And we see the Spurs. They have how long have they gotten not just the benefit on the court with wins, but how many just little benefits from the league, from the Team USA, and all of this throughout the years? I like where the Pistons are headed, and I think Tom Gores is trying to build the Pistons in that same type of model. Arn Tellem, Ed Stefanski, those guys have helped to really, really accelerate it, man.
Right. Again, I know a lot of times, like just to wrap it back to the lottery conversation earlier and to expand a little bit more on a point I was making with making your own luck. I know a lot of times we rely on the luck, and when we don't have luck, it feels like the plan is written, that the writing's already on the wall, that everything's already there. But the reality of it is that, the best GMs in this league don't play that game. They don't rely on luck. That's why Victor pumped his fist when Houston got the 4th pick, because that is a team that literally their owner publicly said, pray for Victor, and is relying on getting a James Harden back. Like, you look at the difference of teams wanting to take a step forward. Houston's putting the entire farm in just to be competitive next year. Detroit can manage their resources, and they had franchise players wherever they landed. And the reality of it is, with what Troy Weaver's shown, he's made his own luck every single year. The first draft, when we didn't get the lottery luck, when we fell to 7, he went and made his own luck with Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey and acquiring those picks. Even if Killian hasn't been what we all wanted him to be, he can still help the team win in certain aspects, even if it's off the bench. But even when we got the luck with Cade Cunningham, he made his own luck later in the draft by getting Isaiah Livers, who looks like he can be a rotation piece that can contribute. And even when we fell last year, And even when we got lucky with Jaden Ivey, he made his own luck and went and got Jalen Duren later in the draft too. So the reality of it is good. Like, like there's teams who rely on luck, and then there's teams who make their own luck. Troy Weaver said that he makes dollars out of nickels. It's his time to prove it, and I think he's ready to.
He is. I mean, not just what he's done in the draft, but look at what he's done in free agency as well. He came in with no cap space, and when they signed Jeremy Grant, you know what everybody said? How you do that? Where did he get the cap space from? How did this and the other?
Thousands of people.
Yeah, he was operating. That's what I'm gonna keep saying. He was operating in ways we have never seen GMs operate, using the dead space money and all of that in ways we have never seen GMs really operate to his benefit. Troy Weaver is a different cat, man. And that's why sitting on the precipice of this kind of draft and this offseason, I keep thinking about that Hoops Hype article that Bojan Bogdanovic did, where he was talking about, the fact that Troy Weaver said, and this was after he signed the extension, hey, why are you signing on? Troy Weaver told me there's a plan. Troy Weaver told me about to get busy this offseason. And it didn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that he thought they were going to have a first number 1 overall draft pick. Had everything to do with the fact that Troy Weaver, who he was, whatever plan they talked about, the fact that Bojan mentioned that cap space and that Troy Weaver had a plan to bring people in to make a difference next season. This is why Bojan signed on. He believes.
Yep. Which, by the way, sorry to interrupt, Kool-Aid. He came in right away and said, this is Cade's team, and realized how much Cade made an impact on the court. And so he even said having Cade off the court has been a massive impact. And so as good as Bojan looked at a lot of points, as efficient as he was, as much career highs as he's put up, it's going to be that much better alongside Cade. RJ Hampton, interesting name. Interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Stay tuned. But anyway, just as far as
really?
Stay tuned. Anyway, as far as you think we'll really get a shot at Monty? Wally Wave asks. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be a phone call. There's gonna be a conversation. There's a relationship there with Troy Weaver. And if I'm Monty Williams, like I said, longevity is a legitimate selling point. And the only team that can legitimately offer that right now is Detroit, because the Bucks, they don't have a commitment with Giannis for an extension. They have no idea what happens there. The 76ers, Embiid could be gone in 6 months for all we know, with where their situation's at.
And as it relates to this program of things, remember, was Coach Casey hired here as coach? Yes. But when he basically re-upped, that was in year 2 when Troy Weaver was hired. And what did Casey say he committed to? To the organization. Can you imagine your security as a coach when you know you can come in, sit down to the owner? People keep talking about, why do they need to be talking to owners? What could he be possibly asking them? Well, it's different when you're a head coach, because people wonder, why is Casey even going to the Pistons? It's different when you're sitting down with the owner and he's saying, no, I am here for you. I'm going to make the commitment to you because I understand where we are as an organization. That's way different. And so when Tom Gores, or if Tom Gores has an opportunity to sit down realistically with a Monty Williams, he's able to tell him, look, bro, I know you might have some worries. I know you might think that I'm going to fire you when the fans say to fire you. I'm going to give you your 5 years or your 3 years or your 4 years to do what you have to do to get this thing to wherever it has to go, or the 2 years. That's what I'm hoping. That's one of the benefits of getting Gores and these in the coaches kind of together. If Troy Weaver believes that they already fit the bill, then let's let Gores do whatever he needs to do to make sure Monty Williams cannot leave. That's what I'm hoping.
So update. Mike Malone will not be available this offseason. Without this game.
I got to add him to my Willie Green list. The coaches that I'm hoping is Mike Malone and Willie Green, man.
Woo! I know, Kool-Aid, if you could steal any coach in the league right now, it would be Willie Green.
I would, brother. I would. But no. But that's because, think about it. I didn't think Monty Williams would ever be somebody we could even talk about. I thought he was just in like a place higher. I thought Willie Green, new coach. I think he's really good. He's a guy who has these Detroit connections. But Mike Malone is if that ever was something that came available.
Right. And again,
snatch him up.
Again, he could still very well go to Milwaukee. Reports suggest they're going to pursue him aggressively. I would imagine that Phil. I'd imagine he's going to get a call, from Philadelphia as well. So like those are still legitimate conversations to be had, and those are still really good coaching jobs. So like let's like not to set the expectations that he's coming to Detroit. I don't want those in my mentions. I don't want that on my conscience. But like what I will say is, the gap is not as big as far as like, is it a good option as far as like people think it is. Like I heard people I heard people saying like, oh, the Pistons are in a bad spot. I'm like, no, like if coaches are looking at that spot, they're looking their lips at the potential of working with Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham. Especially Monty, like Cade just fits everything Monty Williams is about.
They are. They are. Like, I'm not gonna get on here and act as if those guys aren't who we know that they are. And it doesn't come by way of even like, oh, I'm a fan of the team or I hope my team. It comes by way of the numbers, man. When the Pistons gave me the little season in review thing, and I was just looking at the actual numbers from Ivy, the actual numbers from Duren, looking at the trends, looking at their best stretches, I was like, oh, not we got one, we got two. We got two high-level young players who everyone knows. Realistically, these guys probably could have been on or should have been on the first team all rookie. And not just because they played good. Like guys, you have NBA stars talking about Ivy, Cade, and Duren. Stars.
Confidently talking too.
Confidently. Like, that's why I'm excited. I'm excited. Like, I'm not. This is the same way we were 2-3 months ago. Same way we were last summer when we saw the first play of Summer League.
And again,
the oop from Ivy to Duren.
Right. Yeah. And again, I know it's hard to base that off of a team that this last year went 17 games. But again, this roster is going, I believe at least 5 different players will be on this team this year than there were last year, just off of the bench alone. And then in addition, you talk about, like yet another young piece to add to the core, yet another offseason for Troy Weaver to work. And he said himself that they are getting that it is time to win games. You don't think that's going to be reflected by the actions he does this offseason? You don't think there's already, plans A through Z of potential scenarios and things that they can do? I'm just saying it's time for him to cook. It might not be the big names like a Donovan Mitchell trade or like a Jalen Brown trade or like massive scales, but he's going to make this team better.
I agree, man.
Side note here, my good buddy Sean, that Michael Malone, I didn't know what you were referring to when you said when you bring up Michael Malone again. I'm gonna second that and agree he would not be available.
Yep, that ship has sailed.
It's not even close.
Jamal Murray just made another 3. They're up. Now it's double digits.
His number would not be available. Sent to voicemail.
Darvin Ham, on the other hand, no, I'm just kidding. Darvin Ham's been phenomenal.
Yeah, Mike Malone. It was nice for the 30 minutes we thought, but
Yeah, this Denver team's legit, man. Like, I just think they have all the ingredients to win it all. I think of the 4 teams remaining, I think they're the most consistent. I think they're the deepest. I think they have the best player in the world right now. I think they're in prime position to win a championship.
Shout out to Kool-Aid, man. Yeah, shout out to Kool-Aid. I knocked him at the Pistons show. I knocked his Bruce Brown, thing. So sorry about that because I saw his game. He did pretty well. Proceed.
I was like, look, man, dude, does anybody see a reunion likely or want to see a reunion with Pistons and Bruce Brown, man? Like,
I would love it, but remember, that's the team that traded him away.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like players don't exactly go, hey, thank you very much when that happens. They take note.
They do.
Like it becomes a thing when they play that team.
They do. I wonder, just kind of knowing how Troy handles things is generally with a little bit more class, a little bit more like working with the player. But you're right, Bruce Brown, he seems to take a little bit more personal, man. Like every time he plays the Pistons, even his face is just looking like, yeah.
And Troy traded him like week 1. Like he came in, he was like, "Hey, thanks for being here." Like it was practically the first thing he did after signing the contract was trading away Bruce Brown. Like it was like the first order of business. So like the
Look at
fact
Jalen.
like we could not act as if like there's
I,
this like long withstanding relationship. It was like, "Hey Troy, what we're trading Bruce." It's like, "Oh, okay."
and the guy he traded him for, like, it was just, what's his name? Musa? Is it Musa? Is that his name?
Yeah. It was all types of like throw-ins for some of the other deals that they had
It
done.
ended up allowing us to get Sadiq.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like,
But
Troy he's basically going to be the person to go out there and sell his cap space to teams that have either a draft pick he wants, a young player that he wants, or a vet that he wants. And with the Knicks, when Sean says, "Hey, I have a feeling he's going to go out there and there could be 5 new players on this team or turn this roster over," he's done that. Like, look at the track record. Every year that he's been here. Last year he did that with one trade. That Jalen Duren trade brought in 6 new players, bro. One draft pick out, 6 new players in to just take a look at if he wanted to. He wound up retaining what, 3 or 4 of them? Jalen Duren, Kevin Knox, forget the other ones, but Alec Burks.
when you can trade out Corey Josephs and Rodney McGruders with players that can come in and legitimately consistently play and be accountable on the defensive end, be able to shoot from beyond the arc, like guys who are veterans but still have it, for lack of better terms. Because as much as we as much as Kojo has been like a laughing point, or as much as we poke fun at these guys from time to time, it's like the reality is they were here for the foundational years. They just don't have it. They're going to move on, get different players. That's what this offseason is about.
Yep. Sheesh, man. I think that's all the topics, unless people have last words.
I think if this was Thanksgiving, I think we went through the entire spread.
Sean's mind, bro.
That was a good one.
Sean's cooking, man. It's the Sean cooking episode.
My mind in a lot of different directions. I'm sorry if I talked way too much this episode. I was just like, ooh.
No. This one, this episode, bro, this was about restoring order, man. Making sure people remember what this is all about. It sucks, man, to not get that first pick. I'm not going to tell people not to be mad about that. That sucks, man. It sucks to fall to 5 because, number 1 puts this rebuild on the moon. Picks 2 and 3 really, it pushes us forward a whole lot. But when you fall, Troy Weaver and the players we have here is a reason why we're not going to lose too much ground on what this restoration is supposed to be. But it's on Troy Weaver to make sure he goes out there and does the right things. I like what he's done already. I believe in the track record.
Right. And again, we're not saying that people can't have expectations and say that it's time to produce, because you're absolutely right to say that. But at the same time, he said that as well. He knows it too. And, I think with the fact that he's made the necessary steps at just about every turn, and the biggest blemish on his report card is trading Bruce Brown. Like, if that's your biggest blemish, that's a pretty good report card. I'm just telling you right now. Like, I mean, okay, you could probably say, like trading, like, picking Killian over Tyrese Halliburton, but like that was like there were a lot of teams that also passed on Tyrese Halliburton. Like you can't blame just Troy on that.
Like Sean,
there are a lot of idiots in that.
Where was Tyrese picked, bro?
I believe he was picked 13th or 12th.
13. The Killian was picked 7. People, if you ask people, Tyrese Halliburton was picked right after Killian. If you ask them, it's like a lot of teams made that mistake on Tyrese Halliburton, and I can see exactly why. But I don't think that Troy Weaver, based on what he's already proven and already shown, he's not going to make those types of decisions like too many times. Just trust him what's going on here, man. There were still people who thought he should have taken Jalen Green over Cade Cunningham. Come on,
I just saw someone bring up, there is one more thing we didn't talk about. Imani Bates showed up at the NBA draft combine. He's been asked about being with the Detroit Pistons. Currently in mock drafts, he is put anywhere from 56th, 57th to being undrafted. However, I personally believe that it would be, it sounds, Imani said that he has a workout scheduled with the Pistons. I believe that if Detroit likes what they see, I think that would be an interesting play at 31. What are your guys' thoughts?
Bro, Jalen, go on here, brother. You already chopped at the bits.
Because I just made a tweet. You can look on my page. I was like, it may not seem cool or it's a reach, but if he's at 31, you have to take him. I don't know what it is about the way I mean, he's grown up lately, but like it's just I feel like if he either trade the pick or take whoever we take at 5, I feel like he would fit. He's a baller. He can shoot the rock. A little more weight, he has to put on things like that. But like I am not opposed to it. It's a fairy tale, because he's from here. It'd be kind of cool. But I mean, we get a nice pick at 5 or trade or do whatever we do. But if he's there, and I think he's gonna be a sleeper pick because they're so stuck on what he's done and like his, the issues that he had and stuff like that from Memphis to Eastern, he's going to be a sleeper. And yes,
Yep.
at the combine, he was shooting lights out. He's going to be a sleeper, and whoever gets him is going to have just how Jaden Hardy was. And I'm biased. That's my little bro for like Dallas. He got picked late. Great backup. He's going to be a sleeper in the draft.
Well, and look at what Imani did after he went through everything he did at Memphis. He came home and bounced back. And we talk a lot about like a lot of players like going home and like that's one thing, and like it's like, oh, it's a fairy tale. He's from Detroit, but legitimately, his best shot in the league might be being home. Because if Imani does go to another situation where it's not as solid of an organization, like if he goes to say a Dallas where you have like a Jason Kidd as your head coach and there's not quite as much consistency, it's more so focused on get Luka the ball and we'll figure everything else out later. Like I think if Imani was in Detroit, obviously that'd be a great thing for like cruise games at the beginning, but I think also, like just it's a high upside move. And I think that's exactly what second round picks should be. Like, unless there's a guy at 31 that you think you can add to the rotation right now, go get the guy that could potentially be a star that's available at 31. And in my opinion, that's Imani. Just with everything we know about him. That's just my opinion.
Look, Sean, when I first saw your answer to the question on Twitter, man, I was like, yeah, I would take him with the 31st pick too. But for whatever reason, kept seeing mock drafts saying that this gentleman was going to go like late second round. I'm like, what is this? Because generally I can understand the punishment. If you're saying he's going at 31, just what I know from you, I don't believe you think that there are 31 players necessarily better, but there are circumstances that have pushed them there.
And I
don't know.
Right.
Huh?
And I'm not going to pretend that I know the entire second round slate and, like the depth of that draft. And so, if those scouts genuinely believe there are 50 some players in this class better than him, go right on ahead. There certainly aren't 50 better athletes better than him in this class. There certainly aren't 50 better scorers than him in this class. There certainly aren't 50 players with more upside than him in this class. I know that for damn sure.
And that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like the way that was going and the explanations that they gave for having them that low, it's like you don't penalize somebody almost 2 whole rounds for being a kid who then came home and acted mature. You can't, like, look, if teams realistically do that, I really hope the Detroit Pistons, if he's sitting there at 31, pounce. I really do, man.
It's going to come down to what Troy has, like what Troy and their evaluation is going to be. Because, I mean, keep in mind, if anyone's going to have had a front row seat on the Imani experience, it's them. I mean, they were plugging Imani at Pistons games this last year. Like it was a real thing when Imani was back in Detroit. So, I would imagine in the fact that there's a relationship there, that's like a cool added bonus. Obviously, if there's like an on-court component that could develop there too, awesome. But again, even if Imani just ends up being this really solid backup point guard that you bring off the bench that can get you 12 points in a flash, like imagine if Imani Bates becomes a Malik Monk type where he comes in, just lights up the scorecard. He might not be a star, but damn, does he look like one at certain points? Because man, Malik Monk, when he's on, like there were points where like where he had playoff moments this year that were rivaling Steph when they were playing the Warriors. Like those types of scorers you need. And if Imani can become like a Lou Will or like that type of player, you need that. Chauncey needed Lindsey Hunter. You know?
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point because it's a lot of people who I know are saying no to Money Bates, but if you probably ask them, who do you want as your backup point guard or even that third point guard role, would you realistically be upset with that being in Amani Bates of all things, or even as like an off guard, as somebody who can be in more in those favorite catch and shoot positions? I don't know. It just looks like when you fall to 5 from number 1, you have an opportunity now to go and get a player that has lottery type potential. You have to go out there and do that, man. Like
Unless they use
that's
that
just the
31st
basketball
pick
of it.
for a trade or some form of package to do something different, then that's a different discussion. But
Yeah.
Again, in our opinion, I mean, from like what we see, yeah, he's just the upside's there. And again, if he doesn't hit, what's the consequence? Oh darn, a second round pick.
Yeah. 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 Which they've shown, bro, they can just buy them at will. They can trade them at will. I'm not going to be crying over it, but I want to see this team where they can be aggressive. Look, because they have to be aggressive with the players that can come in and contribute right away, but they have to continue to be aggressive about the players that they can turn into extreme values to make this thing work. When you got a team full of young players, that means they're all going to start to get paid or have to have decisions made about them kind of around the same time, similar to what we saw at the beginning of this year. And some of those decisions have already started to be made. Sadiq Bey is no longer here, and there are questions about Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart long term. Isaiah Stewart, less about the fit and the skill and more so about what is he going to be paid. Is there another team that's going to come in here and try and make it a little bit tough for us to keep him? Because right now, at the beginning of the year, there are people who are saying, oh, Grant Williams. Right now, I'm telling you, Isaiah Stewart, because of the demise of Grant Williams, Isaiah Stewart's
The
value
people
just
that are
went
saying
up.
Grant Williams now work for the Shanghai Sharks.
Yeah, think that's what I'm saying. So Isaiah Stewart's value is going to go up now, man. There's less guys like that now. And Isaiah Stewart did it for a whole season. Obviously people want to see, well, not for a whole season. He got injured, but I believe that the type of player he is and what he put out on tape is something a little bit more valuable. I do believe that his value in free agency is something that might get a little bit driven up. So the Pistons have to make decisions on these young players. And Amani Bates of things is a guy who, if he pans out, the way that the money slots, it's something much easier to kind of fit into your future plans.
I don't have resources to tell me this, but just from the reports I hear, from talking to people that are close to the Pistons, just paying attention to how they talk about these players, if there is any player outside of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey that I am confident will be a Piston for years to come, it is Isaiah Stewart. I know the finances are going to be difficult. I know the price might not be what you want it to be initially. You might have questions about what his ultimate ceiling is, but to me, from what Troy Weaver feels about that player and just that person, I just have a very hard time envisioning that guy in a different uniform.
Yeah, I think obviously there is a price.
There is,
But he is, to me, I've told somebody this before. They were like, man, why are you hating on Stewart saying that you don't think he's a starter if this team is actually in the playoffs? I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is just about fit. This is like, even Troy came out and said the same thing. We need a little bit more height in our starting lineup. Isaiah Stewart is the heart and soul of the squad, man. He's that type of heartbeat. No matter where he's at on the court, he's the type of guy who he's going to be able to say something to these players and they are going to resonate and they are going to listen. That's what you need. And you need those types of guys who can go out there and when they mean business, they mean business. Like the other team knows we're not messing with these guys. The other team already knows and already understands, hey, we're not messing with his teammates because Stu's going to come after you. That's something that I want to see kind of more of out of some of these other guys on the team, man. Have your guys back, step up, have that kind of aggressiveness. Let that be something, unless we have to go out there and get players that have that DNA. What's going on, Sean? All right, let me add this. What's going on?
Lakers fan, we win both games if altitude doesn't exist.
Oh, Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid. Don't Bruce Brown, Mike LeBron James at the game, and it's going to sting me so bad.
Oh, I love Bruce Brown, man.
Detroit Pistons, Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown mic'd him up so smooth.
Bruce Brown Jr.
He's a stud, man. Like, and I'm just happy for him. Like he's earned it, like he's a guy that, I think we all knew right when he got traded, like especially to the Nets with and the opportunity to play with a star and Kevin Durant, like how much I could elevate his game. It's just a whole other level playing with Jokic. I mean, again, Jokic, like death, taxes, and players having their best career year alongside Jokic. Like that's just what happens.
That's true. That's true, man. The Joker effect. No diss to Bruce Brown because he's a guy who we saw work hard here. But yeah, Joker, that effect is crazy, man. I'm starting to see here like, did he get robbed of an MVP?
100%.
Yes. Yep. I mean,
100%.
I made this point on From Half Court last night. This is if I were to describe the difference between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Joel Embiid calls for his teammates to be better. Nikola Jokic makes his teammates better. That's the difference. And that's why one is
I mean, that's the word.
That's why one's going to go to Cancun, and that's why the other's going to go to the championship. So, and again, you don't have to look hard on what the secret is or why it is or what it's about. Isaiah Thomas himself, the book, The Secret of Basketball, it has nothing to do with basketball. It's about the inner dynamics. Yes, there's stars, but when it comes down to it, it's who will put everything aside to do what it takes to win. And no one embodies that in the modern NBA quite like Jokic, because when all the MVP crap started coming out about him, he quite literally just threw it away so that all the attention could get off of him and the Nuggets so that they could just prepare for a finals run. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. So,
in fine fashion, too.
30-point triple-double against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and the Suns. Like, in the playoffs, he's averaging a 30-point triple-double in a series.
Wow, bro. That's
this
wild.
This is a center.
That's wild, man.
I heard someone say, and I love this. I heard Tim McMahon from ESPN. He said that Jokic is the love child of Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. I love that comparison.
I like it.
The basketball love child of Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki.
I like that one. That one. That actually makes a lot of sense to me.
I could talk about basketball all night. I know we all could, but ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of World War Pistons Table Talk. Before I start to wrap it up, Kool-Aid, is there anything you want to say before we close?
Listen, man, every time we get to these Thursdays, it feels like the week is just dragging on and my spirits get lifted just a little bit more, man. I always like coming on here and doing this with you all. I can't wait for what we have ahead. And just appreciative, man. Appreciate you, Sean. It's always just a light or a joy hosting this with you.
Same here, man.
Brings a smile. Got a lot of laughs. We have fun with you all too in the chats. It's just a fun time overall. And Jalen, I'm glad you're on the team, brother. Welcome, man.
Jalen, it's so fun having you on the Table Talks, man. Especially when I get you on something where you get hyped up on either. Like whether it's when you're excited or whether it's when you're angry. I love both sides of it, man. It's fun. Damn it, we got to get your camera horizontal. That will be the day.
You know what's crazy? I had it set up today, but I did all those prom shoots and then it died.
What you don't have like you don't have like a thing where you could just plug it in the wall?
I do, but when I got home I passed out.
So yeah.
Well, I mean,
like, can't you just like connect your camera directly to the? All right, that's a whole other conversation, not for a live stream. Anyway, we
got it for what on the way out?
Man!
Oh my, we for what?
For what?
I gotta go back and get that as a sound bite. I'm adding that to the soundboard. For what? That's 100% getting added. But with that, thank you all so much for watching Woodward Pistons Table Talk. If you like this, be sure you like this stream, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're not missing any of the latest and greatest content from Woodward Pistons. But also, be sure you're subscribing to Woodward Sports so you're not missing any of the content we have going over there as well. We had our draft lottery stream earlier this week, and that is where we will have our draft show as well. So you're going to want to be subscribed so you're not missing that too. We love kicking it with you too. So that's why you're going to want to be subscribed. Also, follow us on social media so you're not missing any of the other personal projects, and also the commentary that we have in between. You can follow Kool-Aid at Detroit Kool-Aid. You can follow Jalen at Jalen HTV. That's Jaylen. You can follow your boy Sean at Sean F. Fort. But with that, folks, that's going to do it for another edition of Table Talk. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next Thursday on my birthday for Woodward Pistons Table Talk.
Ooh. Hey, we're going to have to do something special, man.